Hey guys, a few weeks ago I made a video on how I was looking forward to Denis Villeneuve's interpretation of Dune. Well, that movie was released 2 weeks ago, at least here in Belgium. So I grabbed my girlfriend, we got some tickets, and we went to see the movie the next Friday. In this video I want to share my experience and my opinion on the movie. So basically this is a review video, and I'll try to keep it as spoiler free as possible. I'll do my best, I swear. I also want to premise the video by stating that I am a huge Dune fan. I read the books when I was 14, I played the games when I was 16, I watched the television series, and I even watched the David Lynch movie several times. So I might be a little biased, just a smidge. But look, I am convinced that this movie transcends fandom. This is just a true classic cinematic movie. Let me start with the cast. Every single actor in this whole cast is perfect for the role. Timothée Chalamet sets down a polar Atreides that struggles with the pressure of his royal stature. He is curious, smart, eager for adventure, but he knows that his life is not going to be an easy one, even if everything goes according to plan. And it doesn't. I am curious, however, to see if Timothy also has the range to take on the next stage of Paul's story. Oscar Isaac brings a unique level of dignity to Duke Leto Atreides. The Duke is a complex personality, one with his own rich and layered backstory. Brian Herbert, Frank's oldest son, and Kevin J. Anderson wrote the prelude to Dune at the end of the previous century. The first book was Dune, House Atreides, which told us Leto's story. And Oscar Isaac seems to have managed to take that whole story and the way he performs this character. Much like his own son, Leto was forced to step up at a time that he did not feel ready for these responsibilities. And occasionally you'll see him hint at some of the stuff that happened in that book. I could go through the whole cast this way, but then the video would get a little long. Trust me when I say that Jason Momoa, Josh Brolin, Dave Bautista, Stellan Skarsgård, and the whole cast set down a memorable and true feeling performance. I can't wait to see more of Zendaya's Chani or Javier Bardem's Stilgar. I want to see Rebecca Ferguson transform from Lady Jessica to... well, I wasn't going to spoil anything, so wait and see. The biggest character in this movie is of course Arrakis or Dune, a huge sandy planet that is ridden with worms. Really huge worms, to be honest. Someone should call a vet or a planet doctor. Does that exist? But seriously, the art direction of this movie is on a whole new level. Every single shot I saw on the screen looked like it would make the perfect poster. They had some creative angles, the lighting just pulled you in. And that was all unfolded on a set with props that feel real, tangible, detailed. Every single object told its own story. Each house had its unique own art style, with their own buildings, objects, costumes. And what they all had in common is that they were a tribute to the original vision of Frank Herbert, but with a fresh and very futuristic touch. It's kinda hard to explain, you need to see it for yourself. The Emperor Shaddam style is clean, imposing, a lot of whites, while all of the Harkonnen art feels dark, actually dirty and sweaty. It looks really uncomfortable. And the Atreides family are somewhere in the middle. Earthier than Shaddam, but definitely a lot cleaner than Harkonnen. With a lot of black and gold, which makes it feel royal, classy. It was just gorgeous to watch. And then there are the Fremen, but yeah, they definitely have their own style, which is... sincere. Maybe that's the best word to put it. The thing throughout the whole movie that kept impressing me was the level of detail. They went the extra mile on every single scene to make it feel real. See, in Dune, the military uses some kind of shield, which is basically a force field that is created around your whole body. Anything that comes into that force field with a certain velocity will be stopped. They also use these shields to protect buildings and vehicles. In one of the scenes during a heated battle, the focus is on a small group of people. And in the background there are some ships that are grounded. During the battle, small pieces of debris hit those ships, and they took the time to add effects of those small pieces of debris hitting those ships in the background. Literally nobody would have noticed if they hadn't done that. Nobody is paying attention to the ships, they're looking at the people, and they might just as well have been standing in front of a wall. That's how unimportant the background was at that point. But the fact that they went to all the effort to put in those details, it just made it feel real, if that makes any sense. And the movie is riddled with all of these details that you might not notice, but when you do notice them, it just... aw, damn. Now, about the soundtrack. Hans Zimmer. Do I need to say more? I know among composers, some people kind of think of Hans Zimmer as being unoriginal. Well, screw that. This soundtrack is just perfect. It draws you in at every single moment, and it has this ethereal vibe to it, which is just what you need for a movie like Dune. Come to think of it, some of it would actually make really good meditation music. While other pieces definitely underline the distress that all these characters are going through. Is that a spoiler? Telling you guys that there's distress? I think we all kind of realize that this is not a feel-good movie, right? Which is actually a good segue to the story. And this is the part of the video where I turn down the fanboy level just a tiny bit. Don't get me wrong, the story is in no shape or form disappointing. It is based on a classic novel, and Denis really stayed close to the original source material. If you have read the books, those key moments, those key pieces of dialogue are all in there. Every single moment that I started mumbling about what they were going to do or say next, much to the distress of my girlfriend, they delivered. Believe me when I say that I teared up more than once, and I spent about half of the movie sitting there with goosebumps. But this might be a little bit of a spoiler, but they end the movie somewhere just before the middle of the first book. I did not know that before I entered the theater, but somewhere halfway through I started to realize that, yeah, they're not going to make it till the end. Even with a movie that has a runtime of 2 hours and 35 minutes. It is a long movie. But personally, I enjoyed every single minute of it. My girlfriend, however, felt it was a little slow, which I can understand. See, this movie sets up a lot of elements, characters, worlds, things we need to know about before we can actually kind of go on the huge adventure that is Paul Atreides' life. And while for me it felt like a nostalgic trip in a world that I have visited many times, for the people that are not that familiar with the story, it might feel complex. And yeah, a little slow. There's not that much action. Now in the case that you are in that second group and not too familiar with the story, trust me, it's going to pick up. Because they ended part 1 at the perfect moment in the story. A pivotal moment even. After this, shit is going to hit the fan. And like I said in my previous video, that ending is going to be an Avengers Endgame portal moment. Trust me. Now talking about the Avengers. In a recent interview, Denis Villeneuve said that the Marvel movies are turning us into zombies, I think he said. At least that is what the clickbait headlines made out of it. But his point was rather that the MCU has changed our perspective on what movies and cinema can be. And in Marvel's case, there is a lot of repetition in the way they unfold these stories. It isn't like he's looking down on Marvel movies per se, but I guess he wants to remind us that there's still other ways of telling a story and making movies. And in his case, maybe a little slower. Now in the end, my girlfriend still enjoyed the movie and she is looking forward to the second part. So the conclusion is that this is a cinematic masterpiece with a strong cast and that looks and sounds amazing. It will definitely capture the heart of every Dune fan, but if you're not familiar with the story, it might be a little much to take and a little low on action. But that does not outweigh the beauty of what you get to behold on the silver screen. I really hope to get the chance to make the second part and even the next books because there's so much to talk about. But not by me though, because I'm done for today. Let me know in the comments if you saw the movie and what your opinion is. And I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye bye.